Hello, friends, and welcome to a very special edition of the Happy Half Hour.
Aren't they all?
They're all special. This one is like my favorite kid. Don't tell baby girl or the boy child. There's no real decision between the two of them. I love them equally. This edition, however, we got all kind of news to talk about. We've got all kind of movement with the Carolina Panthers roster, things people are definitely interested in hearing about. But you know what we got? We got two of my favorite things in this podcast. We got Appalachian State football and Duke's mayonnaise, baby. The Duke's Mayo Classic will be right here in this building Friday night when the beloved Mountaineers play the hated UNCCs.
Wow, the hated.
That's right, the hated UNCCs. People keep trying to make this a rivalry, and Appalachian State UNCC football is a rivalry in the same way hammer versus nail is rivalry. It's as soon as nail comes back to beat hammer, we'll show you the other side of this mayonnaise jar. I hate to obscure the logo. It's like this is just where my hand naturally fell, right in this spot. But right there, the block A, baby, that's all you need to see.
I don't know where he's to just give a little insight to the listeners and viewers here. I don't know where he's going to put this jar because he's already got like 6 of them from the past Duke's mayonnaise openers and bowl games that are held here because they book in the season.
The 2021 mayonnaise is starting to change color. I no longer trust it, but it's a shelf-stable condiment. It's good for a long time.
For a period of time.
Maybe
There's
not 5
some
years.
in his office that are about to turn into a science experiment, but they're quite the souvenir. So I don't know where this one is going.
We like mayonnaise and we love ASU. What's your favorite mayonnaise-based recipe?
Ooh, that is such a good question.
There's only one right answer:
Wow.
deviled eggs.
No, deviled eggs are good, but I mean, you can always go for potato salad.
Deviled eggs, number one. At any rate, that's enough fun. And that's enough mayonnaise-based frivolity. Go Mountaineers. Today I give my all. And today I give my all for this podcast because here at the Happy Half Hour, we know you're not here for the mayonnaise or the Appalachian State football. You're here for the Carolina Panthers. And there's a lot of stuff. Since we last joined you on Monday, as David Langton crawls on the floor Army style to try to stay out of the shot, since we last joined you on Monday, when he also walked through the shot, a lot of stuff's happened. They've cut this roster to 53 and traded some guy named Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
Perhaps you heard about it. If you're watching or listening to the Happy Half Hour, I'm assuming you knew about this already because you're a loyal listener, a P1, as we say in the business. And anyway, it's just been huge news, and it's the kind of thing that I don't want to say it came out of nowhere, but as Dan Morgan talked about this morning, once the Vikings called and said, we sure would like to have Adam, and Dan called Adam, said, come up to the office, we got to talk about something. And Adam didn't say, no, I have to stay in Charlotte, North Carolina, my adopted home of the last 2 years versus my boyhood home that I've spent my whole life and all my family and wife's family lives in. It was kind of a fait accompli, that it was going to get done. They weren't going to give him away. They negotiated back and forth for a couple days and got a collection of picks, which is basically worth a 4th rounder for Adam Thielen.
It's not a bad return at all when you consider on paper what the details are. You know, he turned 35 last week, has not made it a secret that this could be his final year. And so, you know, a good deal for the Panthers and happy for Adam. We talked about last time we were here the reasons it might not happen. There's also reasons that it could have happened. Dave Canales made the comment yesterday too, that Adam never expressed to him a desire to leave. So I don't think it was so much about not being here. It was just a perfect situation with Minnesota. Right. And the ability to go back to the place where he played the first 9 years, where the team that took a chance on him when he first entered the league, where his family lives during the off season. And reunite there and help J.J. McCarthy along kind of the same way he helped Bryce Young along.
Yeah.
And Adam actually gave Bryce a lot of credit today in his opening press conference with the Vikings for helping Adam, have a 1,000-yard season and kind of extend his career a little bit longer. But you have to tip your hat to Adam Thielen for what he did to help Bryce Young kind of develop and get to a comfortable place in the NFL and in this offense, too.
No doubt. And make no mistake, if the San Francisco 49ers had called, if the Detroit Lions had called, if any other team called and said, hey, Dan Morgan, how about if I take that Adam Thielen off your hands? The answer is probably, nah, we're good.
Yeah.
But this one obviously had a lot of extenuating circumstances, and because of that, and here's the thing, and we talked about this on Monday, when this was just talk on Friday of last week, Adam was just wandering around here being Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
I mean, he was doing his thing, drinking coffee, showing up, working out, telling stories, drinking more coffee, and you wouldn't have known there was anything different about his world whatsoever. And then as time went on, the negotiations continued through a couple of days, and it lasted through the cut to 53. And that's when I think a lot of people might have thought it was settled business, but they continued to talk. And the Vikings stayed on this thing and sweetened up the offer a little bit. And all of a sudden they're like, okay, this is not great, but here we go.
Yeah. Saw Adam No, wait. What day did he get traded? Tuesday?
Wednesday morning.
Wednesday morning. Saw Adam Tuesday afternoon. He, like you said, he was walking around normal. He was here Wednesday morning, actually. I was doing his normal thing, just kind of working through doing some workouts, stuff like that, and then got the phone call from his agent. A couple of different guys made this comment yesterday that he took the time after. Obviously, you get that phone call, you want to rush home, tell your wife, tell your kids, pack a bag to get on a plane. But he did take a few minutes to go around. He went to the wide receivers room and talked to them, told them what was happening, and just kind of left them with a message of, y'all are doing great work, like keep it moving.
Yep.
Dave Canales said he spent a few minutes with Thielen yesterday morning, and then he had a private conversation with Bryce Young before he left the building too. And Bryce kind of just was like, I'm going to keep that between us, what was said, but it was really good to just kind of talk to him. So he didn't jet out. He took his time and made sure he said goodbye and tipped his hat before he left.
Well, and it's a weird thing, and the trade was obviously a more dramatic thing, and yes, that was yesterday morning. Or as I
we feel like we've lived a week in that time.
When I walked out of here yesterday at about 6:30 last night, somebody said something about the day, and I said, yeah, a month ago this morning when this team traded Adam Thielen, and that's what it felt like, because when you sandwich that in with all the other moves that are coming and going and guys getting claimed off waivers, practice squads rolling in the door, there's a lot happening at once, a lot of personnel to process, and it did feel that way. And a couple of guys, I was talking to Andy Dalton this morning, he was like, it's weird because we lost a wide receiver, I lost a friend who I've been hanging out with here for the last couple of years, drinking much coffee, doing old guy things. The dads in that locker room all kind of hang out.
They congregate at the coffee machine around 10 a.m. every morning.
Jansen, Andy Dalton, Thielen, they were kind of a triumvirate a lot of times around that coffee machine. And it is strange, but that's the way it is because we'll see. I mean, just for instance, John Radigan, who's a fine human being and a really good special teams player on linebacker, John Radigan left this building yesterday, and I don't know if I will ever see John Radigan again. And it's like that for players. It's just 1 minute a guy's here, the next minute he's gone, and somebody new is sitting in his locker, and that's just kind of the life you get accustomed to if you're in this business for any amount of time.
I did think it was cool and interesting that Dan Morgan said that when he got the initial phone call from the Vikings, he was like, obviously I want to do best for the Panthers and what's best for the Panthers. I'm not going to just give him away. He said, but he did put himself in Thielen's shoes as a former player. He's like, having been a player before, I imagine what it would have been like for me if I got a chance to go home, to go back to the team that first signed me and kind of finish my career there. And he was like, so that's why I wanted to talk to Adam and just see where his head was at too.
No doubt. It's always easy for Dan Morgan to think of it in those terms because he lived that life. I mean, he was in the game for 7 years, gave a lot of himself to football, and it wasn't always an easy road for Dan Morgan. So anytime you get in that situation where you wonder if the GM has the player's perspective, he does.
Yeah.
So, and we saw that with Josie Jewell earlier this summer when Josie, decided, when they released Josie because he was continuing to have the concussion symptoms. I mean, Dan lived that life in 2007, 2008. And so he has these guys' interest at heart, but he's ultimately going to make the best deal for the Carolina Panthers. And so many deals, so many moves have been made in the last 72 hours since we last visited here on the Happy Half Hour. I mean, that first cut, when they got down to like 72, a lot of that was kind of the expected stuff. A lot of rookies, a lot of guys people weren't necessarily expecting to make the team. there were some head scratchers for a lot of people among those last set of moves, and I think one of the biggest for a lot of fans was Hunter Renfrow.
Yeah,
the old Clemson receiver was released on Tuesday and kind of gathered up his stuff, and since then, both Dave Canales and Dan Morgan have talked about it. They have extended a line to Hunter Renfrow and said, we want you here. They've, basically offered him a spot on the practice squad if he wants it. Right now, they've got 7 wide receivers on the roster, including our new friend Darin Campbell from South Carolina, who was claimed off waivers from the Chargers after a really good preseason where he averaged basically 20 yards a catch.
Oh, nice.
He's a big play guy, big, tall guy. Our South Carolina friends know him well from making plays down there from Lenora
Sellers.
Lenora Sellers. I was going to call him Lenora Sanders. That's how much
close.
of a that's how much of an aficionado of non-Appalachian State or mayonnaise-based college football I am.
I was proud of you for knowing Lenoris.
Yeah, Lenoris I'm all over. But anyway, they've got 7 receivers on the roster at the moment, and that's enough. So there's not really a spot on the 53 at the moment without making some other moves. But they've made it clear that Hunter is a guy they want to have back. He lit up the first part of training camp. I mean, his story is incredible. After coming back from dealing with the health issues with ulcerative colitis, basically his body was fighting against him every day just to try to keep food in and healthy. And then to stack that on top of learning to become a professional football player again after a year off, it was tough. And he looked great in the early part of camp. He was poor Trayvon Merrick was getting cooked out there every day in one-on-ones. And it's just like, I know you two did this back in Las Vegas a couple years ago. You can't be enjoying this.
Right.
Then Hunter pulled a hamstring and was out for a little bit. And so I think all those things kind of came together. And Dave and Dan have said, we're just going to give Hunter a little space. He knows we want him. If he gets through the weekend, wants to be here, we got a spot for him.
And Dave, I thought it was interesting how both Dave and Dan were very, very open about conversations with Hunter and what they could want this future to look like. That's not always the case. And it's not always the case even with those two. It seems like Hunter's kind of the exception here. Canales talked about, to your point about pulling the hamstring and then coming back, and, Merrick kind of got the best of some of those battles afterwards. And Dave was saying, I just want to see the consistency of Hunter. There were some highs, there were some lows.
Yep.
That's probably what came down to the decision when it came time to do the initial 53. And he was like, we want to see that consistency. He was like, but I also know what Hunter Renfrow can be when he is consistent, when he is playing at the top of his game. And he said, so we told him, I want to be a part of your future, whatever that looks like. And then Dan kind of echoed that today when he talked of, telling Hunter, like, essentially the ball is in your court. Like, we're here, the door is open if you want to call us back. It's very, very rare for a player to have that sort of control over what the next part of his life looks like. And, Hunter Renfrow hasn't played football in a year. And I think he wanted to know if he still could, if he still wanted to. And I guess now he has to answer both of those questions.
Yeah, and much like Adam Thielen with the Vikings, it's not like Hunter Renfrow's running off to sign for the 49ers right now, because he could if he wanted to.
Yeah, he's not subject to waivers.
Yeah, I just think the one thing that's kind of come clear to me through those conversations is you can tell that at 29 years old, pushing 30, Hunter Renfrow was realizing, man, football's really hard. And I think there is an element of, do I want to put into this what it takes to do it at that level that he showed early in camp? So I think a lot of people are crossing their fingers and hoping he comes back. You never know. I mean, they've made it clear they want to see Hunter Renfrow at some point in the future. So you never know. By the time we meet again next Monday, he may be back. You never know. I mean, and a lot of that's on Hunter. I think that's the key. So
Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Just go
to your point about Hunter trying to decide at 30 if this is what he wants to do, Austin Corbett had such a great line today when he's talking about what it takes to kind of put your body through the NFL year after year. And he goes, we all got to be a little twisted in the mind to do this.
No doubt. Former Giants general manager George Young famously said, we are not in the business of well-adjusted human beings.
Same could be said for our department.
He was talking about football, not necessarily journalism or content or whatever you want to call what we do here. But football is a really hard way. Austin also used the word brutal It's a tough way to make a living, and those guys know that this is the last weekend they're going to have off really until the bye week, and that kind of brings a lot of things into focus for a lot of people. So a lot of other stuff going on. They cut it to 53. Again, a few odds and ends. Other than the Hunter Renfrow news, I don't know that there was a lot that would qualify as a gigantic surprise. I mean, they've got some unusual roster numbers, including positions, but I think a lot of that was dictated by injuries. I mean, they kept 6 outside linebackers, but 2 of them are Princely Emmanuel and Nick Scorton, and Princely had a dinged-up shoulder, and Nick had, a collapsed lung.
Although he has been back out at practice, which is an amazing turnaround.
No doubt. I mean, he was back the other day, and Canal said he was doing about 50% of the normal workload, so they're going to continue to check on Nick and make sure he's going to be all right. The other big thing, speaking of internal injuries, Ikem Ekwonu, your left tackle for your Carolina Panthers, had the normal routine emergency appendectomy on Sunday afternoon. So Icky is in some degree of question. I think a lot of people think, oh, my God, appendix surgery, he's going to be out for the opener. Not necessarily. I mean, they've talked about being hopeful. I think Dave even took a page out of Bryce's book today and said super hopeful.
Super hopeful
about week one. So we'll see.
They do have contingency plans in place, though. Right. Something else Canales mentioned, because obviously Icky can't practice right now.
Right. Maybe you've heard the Carolina Panthers are deep in offensive linemen and have the same dudes from last year back. So, I mean, Brady Christensen, Josh Nijman are there, and both can play tackle. Cade Mays is working with the ones at the moment at guard, while Damian Lewis is still dinged up from that shoulder deal he picked up in the Cleveland joint practice. So they've got a lot of moving parts over there, but that's kind of the benefit of having all those same dudes together, because they're kind of used to patching in and doing stuff. Josh started games last year on the right when Taylor Moton was out. Brady started games at left tackle when Icky was out for a couple of games last year. Brady also started some games at center last year. So
lots of options.
They've got a bunch of dudes who can do a lot of different stuff. Canales said they've kind of got to settle in first of next week and decide who they want to put where, just so you can practice it through the week to get ready for the Jaguars.
I thought it was actually really interesting. He said if it's Josh, then you lose your swing tackle. If it's Brady, you lose your swing lineman. And so it's almost it's a good problem to have. Not, obviously, we wish Icky all the best and a quick recovery. Love to have him back out there. But it's a little bit of a good problem to have when the challenge when choosing the starter for your backup is do I want to lose like a really good backup or a really, really great backup?
Yeah.
And that's the benefit of bringing all those guys back.
Having to make that choice is what we call a good problem to have.
Yes.
So
champagne problems.
Yeah, no doubt about that. What else? Oh, we've got a new friend, Hendon Hooker. We talked to him today. He's a Greensboro kid. Talked about being at a camp when he was a kid, seeing Steve Smith, Jake Delhomme run around.
Ricky Perot.
He is, as they like to say, one of us. He is from and of this place. He talked about seeing Steve and Jake when he was a kid. He talked about going to Ricky Pearl's camp and knowing Ricky's sons. This guy's been watching the Carolina Panthers for a long, long time, and now he are one. Yeah. And I think it's kind of neat. I mean, here's a guy who's a third-round pick out of Tennessee, did a lot of things. I mean, he's an interesting prospect in a lot of ways. And, once you decide to make a change for your practice squad quarterback, it's like, okay, Hendon Hooker, cool. Yeah, this is worth an experiment.
And, obviously the Lions have Jared Goff, and then they kept Kyle Allen there as well.
Panthers legend Kyle
Allen. And Dan Campbell made the comment when they made that choice of who they were going to go with on the roster, as it related to Hendon, sometimes a guy just needs a change of scenery, maybe a different offense, something like that. And then Hendon talked a lot today about how much he remembered of Dave Canales from their combine meetings and when he was going through the draft process, and how much those conversations had kind of left an impact on him. So when he was trying to decide, what this next stage of his career was going to look like and where he might go, those conversations kind of peaked back up in his mind, and it was like, oh, yeah, this is a guy who can help me, who can develop me. And that's something that Canales said he told him as well. Like, I think there's still a lot of good football in you left. Let's help bring it out.
Mm-hmm.
So excited to see, and it's always cool when a guy gets to come home. He said his parents might have been even more excited than he was. He also had a great line about his mom. Said he throws every day, and that sometimes, except Sunday, and that sometimes that means he gets his mom out in the yard and makes her catch. And somebody asked, like, how is her route running? And he said, terrible. But,
come on, man.
Mom's helping. Mom's doing what she can.
You don't badmouth Mom. Mom will take care of you when nobody else will, so I wouldn't badmouth Mama. But, yeah, he's also got another tie to this place. Oh, by the way,
did he play a bowl game here?
No, he played against some guy named Bryce Young in a game you might remember at Tennessee. I mean,
52-49.
52-49.
I think they won on a last-second field goal. Walk-off field goal. And
a pretty good 2-minute drive by Hendon Hooker in that game to win it.
He went like 50 yards in like 18 seconds or something.
You know, that slappy Bryce Young only threw for 455 yards that day. Yeah. What's wrong with him? Yeah, quite a game. Those two engaged in one of the legendary games, and it's like, have you two talked about that? Maybe once.
He was like, just once. He don't bring it up.
I don't know.
Canales joked too. He was like, I doubt Hendon has brought it up. He was like, that's a touchy subject.
Yeah, we'll have more about that one on Panthers.com for you later on this afternoon. So make sure to check that out. Those guys are pretty good. It was one of the classic college football games.
Ended with the goalpost in the river. That's when you know it was a good one.
That's right. I remember seeing those highlights and watching the goalpost go up into the stands, and I'm like, did they know how to extract these things from this building?
Listen, these are some engineers. This is a smart school, and they know what they're. My granddaddy is turning over in his grave that I'm giving Tennessee Volunteers any compliments. But, yeah, they knew what they were doing. They knew how to get those goalposts down to the river.
Did Grandma Tootie have strong thoughts about the Volunteers?
Grandma Tootie didn't really care much about college football. She was a Braves fan. But my pop, he was a huge Alabama fan. He was a bigger Tennessee hater. And that's how it works often. It's like my grandma. My grandma's a huge Auburn fan. She hates LSU.
Yeah. Well, I want to find out more about Tootie and the Braves. I think Tootie was probably a Biff Pocoroba Braves fan, one of those, early 80s Superstation era.
Yeah. At one point, that was the only baseball MLB team you could watch in Alabama because they would come on TBS.
That's right. The Superstation was huge. So I bet Grandma Tootie's a big Dale Murphy fan.
I would ask her, but I can't.
I know, but the wisdom of Grandma Tootie remains on cross-stitch pillows across the Hill family homes, I know. So anyway, all right, weekend off. We're going to take a couple days. We'll be back here on Monday. The Panthers will be back to work on Monday, and a lot to happen. By the time we circle back here, we'll be fully out of that preseason mode. Training camp is behind us. This is our last chance to sort of take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Enjoy your non-football weekend. And if you cheer for UNCC, it probably will be a non-football weekend because you are facing the mighty Mountaineers of Appalachian State University. Good luck with that, UNCC. Let me know how that goes for you, Nail.
I'm going to crack up if UNCC comes out and wins this game. They're going to win like 34-10.
If that happens, I may eat this mayonnaise during Monday's happy half hour. That's how confident I am. But Duke's mayonnaise is delicious.
Okay, Will Levis.
So anyway, we will. I'll use my Will Levis Pro Day credential to scoop out the mayonnaise. We'll put that back here on the wall of fame.
He actually puts it in his coffee, so that's how you have to do it.
That's right. We'll put that back there on the wall of fame. So enjoy your Labor Day weekend. Go hang out with your family. Just take a breath because when we come back on the other side of it, it'll be fully football all day, every day. So enjoy your weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday for the Happy Half Hour.